Hey, what's up, guys? This is John from TheUndercoverBrony, and I'm here with an individual that has been in this fandom for quite a while. He has very interesting pieces of media, especially with live action segments. Looney Turtle, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing pretty good. Another day. I got a lot done today, a lot more than I thought I would.
There you go. That's always good to have a nice, productive day.
Yep, I had to get the truck, the tires replaced on my truck. So, oof.
So the first question I have for you, I ask everyone this. It's always such a fun and varied question, but what is your brony story? How did you get into the fandom?
Well, my brother is an online artist, and so he started making My Little Pony art in the interim between season 1 and season 2.
Okay.
And since I was already binging different shows, including Doctor Who and others, I decided to just give My Little Pony a try. I watched season 1, and after that, I just kind of kept watching from there.
So then, follow-up question, what was your brother's reaction when you told him you were a fan of the show?
We just kind of we kind of bonded over it, so it was nice to have that experience with him.
It's always really nice to have someone in your court, as it were, right from the very beginning, because I know there's a lot of people out there that a lot of them get ostracized initially when they first join the fandom, but you definitely had a more pleasant experience with that.
Yeah, and then from there, just going to conventions, like there was a lot of open arms within the Brony fandom. Like the first convention I went to was Crystal Mountain PonyCon, and at it there was Dr. Wolf, Silverquill, and others who I had been watching. So I kind of, great experience to go in with them and see them at a con, and then. I also joined a group called the Riff Cafe, which had a bunch of different My Little Pony commentators. So just overall, the Brony fandom for me has been a very open and welcoming group. And it's been pretty nice to just have that fandom to interact with.
Absolutely. That's one thing I love about this fandom is the general camaraderie and the positivity that comes, especially at conventions, for sure.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the equipment that you use. What equipment do you use for your recording and editing?
Well, when I started out, I pretty much used whatever mic I could get my hands on. But the one that I ended up using for the longest time was the Samsung CO1U. It's a podcasting mic, and it works pretty good. But after a while, I started wanting to do a little bit of voice acting, and a lot of the applications require an XLR mic. And so naturally, I upgraded to the Samsung Q9U, which is an XLR USB microphone. And so, I still had that familiarity with a USB, but I could get an interface and work with that if I needed to. And then just beyond that, my computer, I tried to make sure... I always kept buying my brother's old computer. He was a gamer. And so it naturally lent itself well to video and audio editing. So that's kind of what I used. Recording-wise, I've always used Audacity. I kind of got used to the workflow in it. And overall, it has served me well as a program to just do audio editing. And then in general, I've always liked to use the Adobe products. Specifically, I can't find a replacement for Animate. It's always just kind of been my vector program of choice. Over the years, I've been wanting to move away from Premiere and Photoshop, and so I've been kind of testing the waters lately with DaVinci Resolve and Blender. Just to kind of get away from Adobe, because I'm getting a little tired of the constant subscriptions, especially since had I just saved the money that I've been spending on Adobe, I would have been able to buy one of their creative suites by now, but instead I have nothing to show for it because it's just a subscription. So I kind of don't like that model anymore. It was convenient for a time, but it's just reached a breaking point, so I've dumped Adobe mostly.
Well, the good news is, it's one of those things where Adobe, being the massive corporation that it is, decides to pass on the buck towards the consumer and doesn't really help in that regard. So I'm glad that there's a lot of other programs out there that you can test the waters and find something that is comparable and sometimes better than what you originally had.
Yeah, it especially helps that I got into 3D printing as just kind of one of my side hobbies. And in the process of that, I had to pick a program that I could do the modeling in. And since I had already worked a little bit with Blender, it was kind of easy to get into that. And from what I've seen of their video editing tools, I kind of like the way that they handle it, but they don't have a source panel. And that's my only big hang up with Blender's editor. So far, I've only edited a video in DaVinci. I haven't really had a chance to edit something together in Blender, but yeah, it is nice to know that there's a lot of open source options available for any given thing. And like Audacity being one of them has just always been pretty reliable as a program.
Absolutely. That's one thing I do like is I also use Audacity for majority of my recordings. And the big thing with that is it's super easy to use. It's very user friendly. You can do a lot with it. And in addition, if I'm doing some more gaming stuff, especially, I'll be using OBS for stuff like that. Another really versatile program that you can do a lot with.
Yeah, I've used OBS over the years just to do screen recordings wherever and however I need those. And then, of course, Windows just having its built-in screenshot function, just using those. Any tools that you can get your hands on, use them as much as you can for video creation.
Absolutely. So moving on to your OC being the Looney Turtle, where did you come up with the idea for having your OC being a turtle?
Well, that kind of goes into why I started making YouTube videos in the first place. When I was starting out, I was looking to inspirations like Smosh or Nigahiga or Mystery Guitar Man, which are very live action channels. And so a lot of my early YouTube career was in two separate channels. There was 00 Random and Random Eric 1. And on those channels, I was kind of goofing around doing whatever. With the Looney Turtle, it reached a point where I was like, okay, I want a name that I'll be happy with 10, 20 years down the line. So it's got to be something that represents me. It's got to be something that's fun. And I kind of think it's good that I got into like this channel before I got into the Brony fandom. At the time, I was actually more into Minecraft than anything. And I was just thinking, okay, I really liked cartoons, loony what? Like the Looney Tunes, but Looney what? It can't be a bunny because that's already taken. And I was kind of trying to piece together what thing could be in that place, the Looney what? And then actually in my fish tank, I had a couple of goldfish, guppies, plecostomus, but there was this tiny turtle figurine, and that's kind of where it clicked, like the Looney Turtle, that'll be it. And just from there, like I had a couple of names that I jotted down, and Looney Turtle was the main thing that stuck out to me, and I was like, okay, cool, that'll be it. I'll have kind of a Looney Tunes theme to it. And then a turtle mascot. And over the years, because people started calling me Looney, I realized, no, Looney's supposed to be the turtle. Maybe I could develop him a little bit more so people recognize he's the character. And then there's Eric, who's the narrator. And so it kind of created an interactive narrator where Looney asks the questions and Eric answers them and talks about the subjects at hand.
Well, that's very interesting. I know that you definitely have a very interesting way of presenting your content due to it being yourself and your character of Looney Turtle, kind of that camaraderie back and forth. That's a really, really unique style.
Yeah, and I suppose that could be due to some of my other inspirations, like John Tron or Aaron Hansen did a series called Sequelitis. And then there were a couple of other creators, Game Theory, of course, heavily, like those styles of videos very heavily influenced the way that I make my videos. And so I'd say it kind of comes from that the style of my channel emerged.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of those larger creators really bring the template that other people can follow, especially like you were talking about JonTron very much with him talking with his bird Jacques, being definitely, I can definitely see the similarity there.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that Jacques kind of taken a back seat in his latest videos, but it's still nice to see JonTron making videos.
Absolutely. So I know you've kind of already answered this a little bit, but is there a specific reason that you use live action video segments, especially more recently, versus the more analysis style videos that more of the fandom usually uses?
I suppose it's because I've never really based my channels on the template of a My Little Pony analysis, and instead gone again with the inspirations I've already had with JonTron and Game Theory, where they do have live action segments, and I like the ability of doing that because it also visually separates Looney, the cartoon turtle, from Eric, the person talking. Because in the past, I've represented Eric as just like a bubble or an arrow, like a mouse cursor. So to actually like have that visualization of Eric, I feel kind of emphasizes these are two separate characters that I've been trying to do with my channel for a while.
I also think it lends credence to the fact that it allows you to not have the particular niche of just My Little Pony. You can branch off into other cartoons, especially with a lot of your newer content, especially with G4 having ended. You're going into more of the wider swath of more cartoons nowadays. So I think it lends a lot of credence to that as well.
Yeah, it definitely makes it a lot easier for me to branch off to other subjects. In fact, I'd say that my channel didn't really get the majority of its success from the My Little Pony fandom. It's definitely a large part, but the videos that have by far I've never been able to surpass are the ones that I did about Five Nights at Freddy's. And so I'd say kind of that's where the majority of my audience came from. But there definitely is still a lot of My Little Pony fans out there that still enjoy my content to this day, and I like it.
Yeah. It's always good to have individuals that are always willing to come back no matter what happens. So this is a two-part question, and I know you've mentioned conventions before. Has there been a favorite convention experience that you've had, and do you have a home convention you like to go to more frequently than others?
So for the longest time, my hometown convention, Crystal Mountain PonyCon, was the one that I liked the most, but they discontinued back in 2017. And then from there, BabsCon actually became my second home con. It takes place in California in the San Francisco area. And I very much liked that one because I was able to do things with them that I haven't been able to really replicate with other conventions. Every convention, what I really like to do ever since, BabsCon allowed it year over year, I was like, I'm going to do this at more cons. This is fun. Is I'll grab a speaker and I'll just start playing the My Little Pony songs and singing to them. And, it being a spontaneous thing, people join in and they start singing and more people join in and start singing. And we have a lot of camaraderie in just singing the songs and spur of the moment type of singing circle. And I'd say that that's been my favorite thing at the pony conventions is just being able to do the spontaneous singing circles, especially at BronyCon, because the last years of BronyCon, I was actually able to get a giant crowd just singing and enjoying the songs of the show. And we had so much fun with that. In fact, it was so fun that someone from Vancouver was actually trying to invite me to get the singing circles up there because they just know how much I can whip up a crowd and keep the momentum going. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because on top of not having my passport, I'm just having financial difficulties in getting to other cons. But yeah, that's where I'm at with conventions. It's just the singing circles have been the absolute best, funnest thing. And I have a lot of fond memories with this. That's
always something that's really cool to see. I know for me specifically, my home convention is Ponyville Cider Fest up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And a lot of times over there, we would have individuals bring out their phone, like if we're waiting in line for autographs or waiting for the main events hall to open up, we would just start singing random songs. One of the biggest ones that people would all obviously sing quite a bit would be the Smile song. But those are always those fun little spur of the moment things that are always just so fun to have happen.
Yeah, I'd say that out of all the songs like Smile and Winter Wrap Up and We Got This Together after the My Little Pony movie, all of those, like, everyone knew the words and loved it.
Absolutely. So I know that a little while back you did a couple of videos on Generation 5, and I totally understand there's not a lot of people. The fandom, at least from what I've seen, tends to be very split. There's some people that enjoy a lot of the content that comes out of G5, and then there's I would say probably a lot larger of the fan base that I've either just completely up and left or really don't like a lot of what G5 did, and I absolutely understand a lot of where they are coming from with that. But you mentioned that G5 was mishandled due to corporate meddling, and I would 100% agree with that. But how do you feel G5 could have been improved sans that corporate meddling?
A consistent vision would be the biggest thing. With the movie, you very much had a tone, an expectation of this is a world, we're going to be exploring it, it's going to be something. And then when the series came out, it didn't seem to have that, like that vision didn't stick. And part of that is the corporate meddling. Apparently the president of Hasbro had switched out. Like there was the first guy who had that plan, and the second guy completely reprioritized everything that Hasbro's doing. And so it very much, there wasn't a consistent vision from the movie to the series. And I feel that had there been more consistency in that, if there was somebody like in charge of maintaining the story between the two separate series, that could have helped, especially if they were to have kept the same tone and storytelling that was in the movie. Because again, A New Generation was a great movie. Like that was the strongest start that they could have for a new show after G4. But the series, the Tell Your Tale and Make Your Mark, those are where it kind of fumbled, because it was very clearly a show, like both of those shows were very clearly made for a very different audience. The movie was like an all ages film, whereas the series was for kids, like exclusively we need the kids watching this and merchandise being bought for these kids shows. And I feel that it's that tonal shift that completely ruined the ability for this show to really thrive. And that tonal difference very much like left people with a lot of confusion in what the direction, what the purpose was. Because again, the movie, it was an all ages film. It was very much a story told with the intent of kind of honoring the legacy, as opposed to kind of just, we threw everything away, we're going to live with nothing from the old series. Everything Twilight and her friends accomplished meant nothing. And I it's disappointing. I feel that it could have been a strong continuation, but they fumbled it.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. You were absolutely right. The tone was drastically different, and to add on to that, not only was the tone different, but some of the characterizations for some of the characters between the movie and the show were also vastly different. One of the biggest ones being the different characterization of Hitch. He did not feel like he did in the movie whatsoever, and I feel like that really caused a lot of issues. Not just with him, but with the show itself being so different from the movie. And it's also a shame, too, because I was actually genuinely excited hearing that Jillian Barrow was going to come in to head the new series, because, you know, she did a really good job with the chapter books, even though they tended to go a little bit for the younger crowd. They were still enjoyable to read for all ages. And then you had the episodes that she wrote inside of G4, and how a lot of those were actually really well-written episodes. And then just to find out that there was not a lot of things that she could have done to keep things together when it came to G5. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, because again, I feel that the pieces were there to make something great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because the whole of Hasbro kind of had a different intent after the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't really deliver on the original plan, essentially. So yeah, G5 was a disappointment. It's not that it's like a bad show; it's a bad continuation from the movie, especially.
Absolutely. You know, I've been slowly reviewing Make Your Mark. Didn't really get into Tell Your Tale. There was some okay things there. I know that Make Your Mark tended to get better as it went on, but again, it never hit the heights that the movie did, and that was very unfortunate. So moving on, as shown on your channel, you have done more than just My Little Pony. You've done plenty of other projects. What criteria is needed in a show or movie for you to want to talk about it?
That's the thing. Do I want to talk about it? There's a lot of subjects that come to mind that I'll write about, and just whatever feels like the best script is what I'll end up making into a video. If I write something that's just kind of, I don't really have the passion in it, then I won't make that video. And lately, the things that have been interesting me most are kind of more of the abstracts, like how does music fit within different types of media? Because, say, with Has Been Hotel, the songs in season 1 were good, but they weren't storytelling songs. Whereas there's other musicals where the storytelling's really great, or maybe the music's really great, but the storytelling's not the best. And I kind of, at the moment, am looking at that cross section of different things, and it's that kind of subject that I'll be kind of typing away at in the background for various videos, and then just when one video gets to a point where I'm like, okay, this is ready to make into a video, I'll record it, edit it together, and put it to the videos.
You know, that's a very interesting way of looking at things. Have you ever come across a subject matter that you want to talk about, and you start to write out a script, but it doesn't really go up to your satisfaction, and ultimately you have to abandon it? Or have you been able to kind of move past a lot of those bits of writer's block, I would say?
I'd say that the main subjects that don't make it to video are like political subjects, because I don't want to really get into that arena with my videos, as well as there's some videos that I got way too negative to the point where it's like, okay, this one I'll put off to the side and maybe revisit later. Such as the case with, say, Has Been Hotel. I made a video kind of looking at the pilot versus the series, and I as I was writing out the scripts, I was just ripping apart Has Been. And I was like, this isn't quite working. I think I need to actually like reprioritize how I'm writing this. And so, you know, I put those on the side for now, and then worked on other videos, and then revisited it later and had a different mood, a different tone to it.
I definitely agree with you when it comes to political discussion. There is definitely a time and place for certain creators to talk about it. But I am in 100% agreement with you that that sort of thing does not belong in our circle of influence. And though we may have opinions about it, it's not something that's that I would say would be very appropriate for our sphere of influence, for sure.
Yeah, it's difficult to figure out the right way to talk about subjects like that. It feels like walking on eggshells trying to write about it, because I can be very analytical in how I'm approaching talking about a subject. And just with politics, I'm just thinking, how will this hurt someone's feelings? Will this be misconstrued? Or it's just a lot to think about with the political arena, especially with how high the temperature is right now. That it's more safe to talk about cartoons, especially since that's the main like subject matter of my channel. I'd prefer to stay within that realm, you know?
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons that I am specifically drawn to your channel, because it's definitely a break from all the craziness of politics in real life. It's nice to be able to just sit down with a snack and a drink and watch some of your videos. For sure, it helps keep the atmosphere a little calmer than the usual frivolities of life.
Yeah, and there's also in video creation, considering the audience, like who's watching my videos, what are they coming here for?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, they're not really coming for the political sphere. They're coming to just hear a guy ramble, basically.
Mm-hmm. So finally, where can people find you online?
Well, they can find me at TheLooneyTurtle.com. I saved that domain and sometimes change it to a link tree, or I'll just have it linked to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on most social media platforms like Blue Sky, Mastodon, and DeviantArt. And I try to get all of my accounts going to the Looney Turtle. So yeah, that's kind of the best place to find me. If something looks fishy, though, don't go to those accounts.
Absolutely.
Because I know that there's always impersonators out there. I haven't encountered many, but there's always the possibility. So if you ever question if it's me or not, then shoot me an email or go to my Twitter and ask me, my Blue Sky. Those sources, it should always be The Looney Turtle. Mm-hmm. No spaces.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was an absolute blast to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you had me.
And until next time, that's it from me, John.
All right, have a good one.
And we will talk to you guys later. Peace out, Dragon.